Good evening, and welcome to the 11th Annual State of the City program, sponsored by the Historical Society of University City. I'm Eleanor Mullen, president of our society. Our city's founder, E.G. Lewis, was born March 4th, 1869. We choose early March for this event to honor him. As I'm sure you're aware, we've been unable to hold any in-person programs since March of 2020. We hope later this year to resume in-person programs, including our annual dinner meeting in the fall. If live programs do not seem wise, we are considering streaming on some service. Our offices and archives are housed in the University City Library, which I'm sure you know is closed for renovations. We cannot thank Patrick Wall and his staff enough for the help they gave us during the move. And our most sincere thanks goes to our past president, Sue Rakoff, who had the Herculean task of organizing our records and possessions for this move. We thought you'd like to know that as of today, 125 homes boast our century plaque. This is to honor historic University City homes that are at least 100 years old. I'd also like to inform you that we received a substantial donation from the Harriet and Jim Woods Family Fund, part of the St. Louis Community Foundation, due to the generosity of their son, Andrew Woods, a life member of our Historical Society. In a quirky coincidence, many years ago, Andrew moved to California, just as E.G. Lewis did 100 years ago. We mourn the passing of Elsie Glickert and send our condolences to the Glickert family. Elsie was a council member and a long-serving member of our board, and her ideas, wisdom, and feisty style will truly be missed. And now it is my pleasure to turn this program over to the two gentlemen who so ably run our city, City Manager Mr. Gregory Rose and Mayor Mr. Terry Crow. Thank you.
So thank you so much for the kind words and for putting this event together. And I understand all too well that I'm the warm-up here. And so I know that all of you are eager to get to the main speaker, and I am as well. So I am going to go through my presentation to you pretty fast, but certainly want to express my appreciation for you inviting us into your home. I want to start this evening with where I left off in my presentation last year. Our employees are simply outstanding. I am prouder than ever to lead this group of selfless public servants who have demonstrated a shared commitment to ensuring your health, safety, and well-being. When COVID was raging, our police and fire departments and courts continued to keep you safe. Our sanitation division continued collecting your solid waste and recycling. Our street division continued to improve streets and plow snow. Our parks and recreation and forestry department continued to keep our parks maintained and removed and pruned trees and kept our golf course operating. Our planning department continued inspecting houses and processing plans for developments like Costco. These are the services that are visible to you, but there are many people operating behind the scenes that enable us to provide these critical services. I am proud of the team in the finance department that continued to ensure our team members got paid. And our IT division, the division of one, who kept everyone connected, and human resources, who ensures we treat our team members fairly. The bulk of the services we provide simply cannot be done from home. So I'm proud that our employees showed up for work each day, knowing the risks to themselves and to their families. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I hope that all of you get vaccinated. Calendar year 2021, in many ways, was a continuation of the challenges presented by COVID in 2020. But in 2021, we benefited from lessons learned in 2020, which enabled us to better navigate the impacts of the virus and minimize the effects on our community and organization. There were no major outbreaks in the various divisions in 2021, and we pray this is the case for 2022. While we have relaxed some rules, we continue to perform frequent replacement of filters and screening employees and citizens that enter City Hall. We all appreciate the efforts that occurred at the federal level to address the revenue losses we incurred due to the economic impacts of COVID. Overall, we are in a healthy financial position. At the end of fiscal year 2021, general fund, which covers the cost of the bulk of our city services, had a fund balance of $12.6 million, representing 51% of expenses. This has enabled us to start rehiring those members of our team that were released during when the economy was closed and struggling to recover. Rehiring our team members is the first steps towards returning to a normal operation. We have not yet returned to full operation in recreation, but we are well on our way. I want to take this opportunity to thank the employees that were released for their sacrifice that each made for this community. Thank you. Although the general fund is healthy, there are some funds we're watching closely. Our uniform pension fund is struggling due to the financial collapse that occurred in 2008 and the subsequent underfunding of the pension fund that occurred for more than a decade. To help address this issue, the Mayor and Council approved placing Proposition F on the April ballot. And if approved, it would result in a 1/4-cent sales tax that would be used to fund the firefighters' portion of the $8.6 million deficit. Opponents of the sales tax will argue everyone pays the same amount of sales tax regardless of their income. True. Supporters of the sales tax will argue the sales tax will enable our community to share the burden of emergency services with visitors to our community who shop and benefit from the services that we provide. That is true also. You will decide when you vote on April 5th. If you want to learn more about Proposition F, go to ucitypropf.com. That's ucitypropf.com. We're also continuing to watch the Solid Waste Fund very closely. A financial review of the fund in 2019 recommended several increases to strengthen it. The primary reason the fund struggles is due to the resources needed for our recycling operation. Expenses are far exceeding revenues. Once China stopped accepting most recyclable materials, the revenues used to offset the expenses were significantly reduced. We will continue to watch this fund very closely. Before moving on, I must commend Finance Director Keith Cole and his staff for receiving the Government Finance Officers Association Award for excellence in financial reporting for our comprehensive annual financial report and receiving the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. In addition, I want to recognize them for supporting the departments that provide direct services to our residents and visitors. Economic development was a key focus of the Mayor and Council in 2021, and endeavoring to help small businesses through a rough patch was a top priority. The Mayor and Council made available more than $1 million to local businesses in the form of forgivable loans to help them survive a very difficult time. In addition to starting the forgivable loan program, the Mayor and Council, with the help of a task force, completed the economic development strategy. This strategy established clear and achievable objectives that will guide us as we pursue further diversifying our local economy. There are other areas of achievement that the Mayor and Council realized in this area that I know Mayor Crow will discuss with you. At this time, I would like to recognize the promotion of Assistant City Manager Brooke Smith to Deputy City Manager. In her new role, Brooke's responsibility will include overseeing the execution of the economic development strategy and working with a task force to prepare a housing program for the mayor and council's consideration. The housing program will target those residents who need some assistance with home improvements. I look forward to discussions with representatives from SHED and similar organizations in identifying how they might help us in improving housing in our community. First, however, we must create a housing program and establish clear objectives and priorities. The safety of our community is the mayor and council's highest priority. Both Chief Hampton and Chief Henson are always looking for ways to improve their respective operations. In 2021, Chief Hampton implemented the body-worn cameras program, requiring our officers to wear body cameras as a regular part of their equipment. These cameras give an impartial accounting of what is happening on the scene and protects our officers from frivolous claims and our residents and visitors from inappropriate officer behavior. In addition to the body cameras program, free Ring doorbells were provided to residents in strategically significant locations. Help us identify and catch and prosecute those that would do crime in our city. You may recall we returned ambulance services as a city operation. Chief Henson and his staff responded to more than 4,000 ambulance calls in 2021 and conducted hundreds of fire safety inspections at local churches, businesses, and apartment units. Free smoke detectors were installed in residents' homes, and free CPR classes were offered. I want to commend both Chief Henson and Chief Hampton and their respective staffs and encourage them to continue innovating and improving service delivery. Our planning department is outstanding. The men and women in this area evaluate land use plans, inspect homes, and ensure they are constructed in accordance with our codes and confirm residents are maintaining their property. University City has a mature housing stock, and part of what enables us to have such beautiful homes is a strong code compliance program. In 2021, there were more than 6,000 inspections of various structures and properties throughout our community. We will continue to improve in this area. However, I am proud of the current performance of the men and women doing the work. We are still recovering from the impacts of COVID in our recreation division, but we expanded hours of operation to a point we're very close to normal operations. The mayor and council recently increased the minimum wage to $15.50 per hour, which makes us very competitive with other jurisdictions in our region as we compete against them for high quality people to add to our team. Even though COVID has had its impacts in creating a labor shortage, we have been able to complete several projects, such as the improvements at Heman Park and Kaufman and Kingsley and Mooney playgrounds. Our golf course hosted more than 39,000 rounds of golf in 2021. If you have not visited our parks, recreation facilities, or golf course, you should. I think you'll like what you see. I know Director Dunkel and his staff work hard to do a wonderful job of maintaining these facilities. Darren Hennon's staff were responsible for tree pruning and removals. The mayor and council allocated more than $400,000 to tree pruning, removals, replacements, and park maintenance in 2021. Public Works Director Sinan Alpasan and his staff should be proud of the services they provide. They collect your solid waste and recycling materials and keep your streets safe to drive on. In 2021, the mayor and council allocated more than $1 million to street maintenance and curb and sidewalk repairs. Also in 2021, staff worked with the mayor and council, the commission on stormwater issues, and the Army Corps of Engineers in identifying options for better addressing flooding that occurs here. The mayor and council approved submitting a construction project to the Army Corps of Engineers that, if approved, will make the river repairs and will improve the river repairs and reduce flooding. We will need the help of our federal delegation to get the project approved and funded, and we'll all look forward to working with them towards that end. Finally, the Mayor and Council established economic development, public safety, improved infrastructure, community quality of life amenities, encourage high-quality growth, prudent fiscal management, and our employees as their top priorities. On behalf of your staff, I want to assure you that we work very hard each day to achieve these objectives. And by doing so, we can become a great society as we all aspire to be. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight and sharing with me a bit of your time. I also want to recognize the Historical Society again and thank you for this event. Now I have the pleasure of introducing the main speaker, the leader of our city and of our mayor and of the council, the Honorable Terry Crook.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Rose. I hardly ever call you City Manager Rose, but I'll do that tonight. But it is a pleasure to always get to work with you on a day in, day out basis, Gregory. And our community is very grateful for your dedication as we have been through what I think we would all say has been a tumultuous 2 years. To Eleanor and to the Historical Society, thank you so much for having this yet again. I didn't know this was number 11, but congratulations on number 11. And you may be stuck with me for number 12. We'll find out soon enough. But anyway, I want to welcome everybody back into the council chamber, at least by Zoom. We look forward to having you back in our chambers very soon. And this meeting, once again, to be in person where we can actually have a dialogue, have conversation, Q&A, and a little bit of refreshments actually in the back of the room. I want to second what Gregory said about our employees. We have been extremely fortunate to have the committed employees, not just the first responders, the firefighters, the EMT, and the police officers who did an incredible job, but the sanitation workers, the parks folks, the finance folks, everybody who worked under just that extra bit of stress that everyone has had for the past 2 years. You had it at home, and by the way, our employees had it at home, and they had it here as well. Everyone is making it through, and you can almost sense on this, I think, 82-degree day today that we all feel as if maybe things are starting to change. None of us want to jinx it. I hope that is the case. And to everyone who has suffered a loss these past 2 years, my heart goes out to you. So many people have had so many challenges put upon them that they never thought they would face. And speaking of challenges, I do hope that you will get a chance to maybe tonight, for those of you who are going out after this presentation, to take a look at City Hall. The lights on the outside of City Hall are bathed in yellow and blue for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine who are under an unwithering assault. We hope and pray for an end to this war very quickly, but we thought it would be another way for us to show the support of a community like University City that is home to so many nationalities, so many religions, always welcoming. And again, our hearts go out to the people of the Ukraine. One thing I'd also like to say to everybody as the weather is getting a little bit nicer. I said it last year when I said, please go to our restaurants and order out. What I'll say to you now is please go out and eat. I don't care whether you go to the Loop, I don't care whether you go to Forsyth, I don't care whether you go to Olive, wherever it is. Please, our restaurants, our servers, the cooks, everybody is looking for some way to get back to normal, and we can all help in that one small way. Gregory mentioned public safety, and clearly to our council, public safety is number one. Public safety, funds for public safety take over 2/3 of our budget, period. That's police, that's firefighters. So I thought it would be important to give you just briefly a few statistics. When I talked to the police chief earlier today, he gave me what are called Part 1 crimes. Part 1 crimes are the most serious crimes that are committed by felons. They are homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, auto theft, and arson. Those 8 categories make up the most serious crimes. Over the last 5 years, though some have gone up, some have gone down, there's been a general trend down. So I asked for what were from last year, 2020 to 2021. In 2020, University City had 982 incidents that fit into those 8 categories. In 2021, we had 779. That is a decrease of 21% in 1 year. Now, we realize there are many factors, but when I spoke with the chief, he said he wanted to make sure that we understood that technology has played a role, community-oriented policing, and strategic planning would be the 3 things that helped them the most. So I do want to say to the chief, thank you. I think it's very important for us to know when people talk about what is crime like in University City. We've seen a decline, and in particular this year, a steep decline. So thank you to the city manager and to our police force. Speaking of our police force, I think almost everybody knows that several years ago, the police annex was condemned, and our police have been in trailers for far too long. Over the past 2 years, we have studied and come up with a plan to put a brand new state-of-the-art police station in our annex. If you want to compare it, the best thing for you to do is to go to Clayton and look at their police headquarters, where they put a brand new state-of-the-art police station inside a historic building in downtown Clayton. We intend to do almost the exact same thing. This will be an entirely new building inside of a historic structure. Our community is sacrosanct about protecting our older buildings, and in particular, the historic Civic Plaza. You will recall that we passed Proposition H several years ago, specifically to protect this area. We want to make sure that our police get out of the trailers, get into the state-of-the-art facility, but we want to make sure we protect our history. If we didn't believe in that, we would have built a new police station up on Olive and left the buildings vacant. But instead, we're going forward with a police station. We hope that we can fund it. The city manager thus far believes that we can fund it from the cash that we have from operations and from likely issuing some certificates of participation without a bond issue. I think that's probably good news for everyone. But I also want to make sure with the new police station will also come a separate courts building. That was part of the Ferguson report, where the municipal court should not be a part of the police station. So there seems to be a little bit of chatter, and I'm one who follows social media. I don't participate much, but I do follow it. There seems to be some concern that there's an abandonment of City Hall. And I love this structure. I love this building. I love being in these chambers. I've been in these chambers for more years than I ever thought I would have when I first ran for office. But I love this place. So there isn't an abandonment of the 5th floor. There isn't an abandonment of City Hall. We can build or rehab a building right next door and still maintain this one. So those folks who seem to be concerned that we're abdicating some responsibility, I want to let you know that's just simply not the case. But I also want to say, many of you who are on this Zoom remember the days when the elevator is broken down. So we know we can fix it, but you also remember when it's broken down. More importantly, everybody on this Zoom remembers what happened in Kirkwood. And this city council chamber has one way in and one way out. And so I don't think it's asking too much that if every now and then we want to have a city council meeting in the courtroom, I think that makes sense as well. Please understand, we have your best interests at heart. And this council that I serve on, every member supported Proposition H and making sure that Civic Plaza stayed the way that it is. That's why we're going to be putting that much money in the annex building. Let me move to and touch upon the municipal elections that Gregory spoke of briefly that are coming up on April the 5th. I am fortunate as of this date to be running unopposed, as are the council members from 1, 2, and 3 who are also running unopposed. There is a school board race. There are 4 candidates for 2 seats. And then, as the city manager mentioned, there's also Proposition F, which is on the ballot. And one of the things that, again, I think this is a healthy dialogue for all of us to have. Some folks are saying, well, why now? Why now? Well, one of the reasons we're doing this why now is because the legislature passed a law last year that enables us to put this sales tax on the ballot this year. So that's the main reason. This is kind of some forces that are coming together. I am a firm believer that we're going to have plenty of visitors, particularly at 170 and Olive, that are be coming in, and I would love for them to pay their fair share. I also believe that if we did this by property taxes, WashU wouldn't pay a penny. If we do it by sales tax, at least the students are paying a little. I understand the reasons against it. And there is no one who is casting aspersions on anyone else. This is a deficit that has been out there for a really long time. We now have a new solution that we previously didn't have. So now is the time just to see whether or not you agree with us and whether or not we can help whittle away at an $8.5 million deficit in our uniform pension plan. So we'll see what happens, but that is coming up on April the 5th. Now let's swing to some of the development things which everybody kind of likes to talk about. The market at Olive. The market at Olive, there's a lot of dirt moving around. It's going from one place to the other. Yes, I thought it was one of the cutest things when someone said, can't we go sledding down the big hill, which we kind of created this big hill. Well, it truly is there, but some of us probably thought it wasn't even going to be moving along this quickly. It is moving along rapidly. Costco has control of their site. I think everyone knows that the wall is up, whether you like it or not. We'll be working, I think, with UCity and Bloom and other folks to try to make sure we address that. But we've just got more coming along. To the best of my knowledge, unless I'm missing it, Costco is supposed to be up and running by October, I think, of this year. I mean, that's pretty fast. So hopefully this time next year, we can all talk about how long we waited in line for our gasoline at Costco. In the next month or two, we hope to have 2 other tenants that we will be able to disclose to you at the Olive and 170 intersection. So we are looking forward to strengthening our tax base with the lead at Costco. And I also want to say, the project thus far has involved all St. Louis companies: Seneca, Holland Construction, ABNA, Clayco, Castle Contracting, SCI Engineering, Grimes Consulting, and TRI Architects. So we have had a wonderful team of professionals who have been putting that development together. Now I want to move up further, way further up east on Olive and go to Olive and Vernon, where many of us have driven by a green pasture for far more years than we thought, the old Pete's SureSave site. It is now under contract and can be announced very soon that a large company within St. Louis City is moving to that site, and they will be moving. It's not a long move for them, but they will be moving over to the old Pete's SureSave site, and we'll have a wonderful facility there that will also add to our tax base. We'll probably be able to announce that in the next week or two, and we are very excited. We are grateful that they are coming, and we look forward, by the way, having a purpose for that location. We think that'll be a great use of that land. Now, if I can move over to, well, let's do one more thing on Olive. Let's do the quick trip. Olive in North and South. Olive in North and South, the northeast corner. The city has owned that land for way too long. We sold it to Quick Trip this past year. We sold it for well over $1 million, far more than it previously sold for. We've had a lot of chatter on social media about the pros and the cons of having a Quick Trip there. I get it. What I will say is this: the people who drive up and down Olive have every right to a safe, secure, clean, large, modern gas station, just like everybody else. And clearly we all know, wherever you live, that the Quick Trips that we have now are much different than the gas stations that we were all used to. So we are looking forward to having Quick Trip. We are pleased with the price that they paid, and we welcome them to our community. I want to move to Del Mar and 170. I think I've talked about this for a couple of years. On the east side of Del Mar and 170, you will see one big hole. It is a very large hole, and within that hole is going to be over 200 market rate apartments. That one is moving along quite well. And across to the west, on the west side of 170, you will soon see over 260 market rate apartments go in a project called Avenir. And so that would be 460 apartments going in right at that intersection that should surely add to the vitality of the neighborhood and the strength of our community. And all of those developments had to go through our planning commission. So I want to take just a moment and say to all the members of our planning commission, you have worked so many long hours. All I can simply say is thank you. You are very detailed oriented. And when a group of volunteers goes 4 or 6 hours through a meeting on these developments, really, the whole community needs to say thank you to you. The Stormwater Commission, which Gregory briefly touched upon with the River de Pere, the engineers on that have done an incredible work, extremely impressive, and so many hours. So to all of you that are watching, I know many of you may have already served your time, if you will, volunteering. First off, I'd ask, can you just give me one more time on one commission, or can you talk to a neighbor? We are always looking for new people, anyone who wants to be involved in University City to serve on a commission. They're working pretty smoothly right now. I promise not to put you on the planning commission with the long hours, and the stormwater task force is mostly engineers, so you probably don't want to be on that. But we have so many vacancies, and I would truly appreciate any help you could give your community in that regard. I want to follow what Eleanor had said early on. And within the past year, since the last time we were together, we've lost 2 council members. Last year, we lost Bob Wagner. Bob Wagner served in the 1st Ward. He and Nancy lived on Kingsbury forever and a day. He was actually the first city council member that I ever spoke with when I brought forth some concern about housing discrimination regarding LGBT issues way back in probably I'd say the late 90s. And he was great. Worked it right through, and I was always appreciative of Bob, and of course, of the friendship with Bob and Nancy. So our sympathies go out to their children. And then, as Eleanor mentioned, Elsie Glickert. Elsie Glickert not only served as a member of our council for many, many years, but more importantly, she was a stalwart volunteer for our community, period. No matter what it was, she was there. Clearly, her efforts with the Suttermeyer home go way beyond almost anything else, but she has always been involved in our community. And I know that her family misses her dearly. To both of the families, what we want to say to you is thank you for sharing their talents and their commitment with us, because we are a better place because of them. And as I close out, what I'd really like to say to all of you is that the state of our city, I think, is quite strong. And we are strong because of all the committed people who help make this city work. When you complain, we get it. We try to be a little bit better. When you compliment us, I hope we always say, thank you. To our employees, you do wonderful work, but we are a strong community. And my goal is when I talk to you next year, that we will be an even stronger community. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.